Well, good evening. I'd like to welcome you here tonight to the July 28th, 2026 Big Picture Ag Pros call. It's going to be an abbreviated model this evening because everybody's busy. There's a lot of things happening in the fields in a lot of parts of the world, but there's also vacations happening. So we're going to just do a quick update for you, just as a video for you to tune into. So we're going to talk a little bit about the treatments that were done this year that are starting to show up, and we're going to talk a little bit about what we may be seeing. And I'd really like to encourage you to spend a little bit of time as you kind of get wrapped up with fungicide applications and you kind of start finding maybe a little bit of spare time. Let's review some of the things for you to keep an eye out for. And we're going to talk about a couple of different ways that you can navigate that. So the first one we're going to talk about is actually being in the field and the visuals that you can come up with. So I was in a field today where we had done some foliar applications at about the V6 timing, trying to see what kind of impact we could have on the crop. And while it's a little bit hard to see here in this particular with pictures, I was doing the best that I could. When I was actually in the field, you could actually feel that there was a difference in these two treatments. On the left, you can see we used carbose amino human silicate. It's kind of part of a stress program per se. Part of the target there was just to help that crop through any stress that it might go through. Carbosen's energy is another package that's kind of just some sideline testing. It just so happened that these two trials were side by side. So I decided to go ahead and do these pictures. And if you look, the carbose amino human silicate, the canopy is just a little bit lower. When I do these pictures, I had a small trowel that I carry into the field with me, and I set my telephone right on the top of that handle so that I was at the same height with both of these pictures. And actually in the field, you could tell, like I say, on the carbose amino human silicate, it was just a little bit healthier still. We are in late July. There's been some dry weather. We've had quite a bit of heat, a lot of hot nights here in central Missouri or western Missouri, I guess, where I am today. But the corn is starting to stress a little bit. Ironically, right now, we're not seeing any kernels necessarily being aborted due to the heat that I can tell, but we're going to continue to keep an eye on that. Again, just getting in the field and seeing what you can see. This particular picture actually comes from the split between the two treatments. And if you look, you can kind of see it maybe a little more obviously on this particular part. The plants on the right, there are more of those lower leaves have already fallen, given up. And on the left, the carbosilicate and amino hume, sorry, I didn't get that part on that one, but it's the same treatment as I showed before. You can see that those plants are a little bit stronger yet on the bottom, which is one of the things we're trying to create with that part of the stress program. So again, if you can get out in your field, spend a little time, get down low in the canopy, because stress and wear and tear on the plants always shows up first in the bottom part of the plant. So squat down and take a look and just kind of see what you can see from that perspective. One of the other things, obviously, are imagery maps that you can access in a lot of different scenarios, and those can give us an indication as well. This particular one was an application of carbose amino human immerse, kind of another twist on our stress program. And it was applied in this particular field around June 22nd. You can see the imagery map there on the left from that time frame. They went through a few days, 4 or 5 days of temperatures above 90 and also nighttime lows that stayed in the 70s. So there was some stress kind of showed up on this crop. And they had actually done that application on the southern half of the field. So when you look at this, if you can see my mouse, you can see on this picture on the right, the southern half of this field, the lower portion, is certainly a better, healthier component. So it does appear as though we were able to kind of help that crop through that stress time a little bit. To continue to watch it just a little bit, here on the left, we've got July the 17th. So a couple weeks later, you can see we've still got a little bit more green in the bottom. It may not be quite as pronounced, but there's still more of the solid color that we're looking for there. And then here on July the 27th, ironically, you know, watching as things change, this is the same field, but all at once, that's actually a hybrid change in that field that all at once is showing up. So the important thing with situations like this, guys, is we should always take our yield maps after harvest, and we should put those on one screen, and we should scroll back through our imagery maps if we have access to do that throughout the season, and see when and where, if we can get any correlation between the yield maps and any of your imagery maps, because that can be a great indicator of when that crop was impacted, whether it was weather, whether it was an application, what it might have been. But there's huge learning opportunities right there. So certainly I would encourage you to keep up with that. But also, if you've got a little time now, go back and review some of your imagery maps. And if you're seeing any anomalies or areas that look really good or maybe not as good, let's go back and look at that. This is a great time to reflect on that, and also make notes of some of those things in some sort of a notebook or somewhere, that when during harvest you can keep track of those situations, and also after harvest where you can go back and revisit them. The next thing we're going to visit is, many of you probably saw the from last month, some of the challenges that Ryan had. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. You know that Ryan experienced some really big rains there in early June. He had a really great corn crop coming along. You can see here on the map on the left, that's June the 5th. You know, the field looks okay. You can see the low areas, kind of the drainage areas in that field still had some red. Not a huge portion of the field though. Then on June the 8th, they got 4 inches of rain overnight. That was the first rain event. Created this situation that you see on the right in the field. The little bit of blue at the bottom of the picture is actually Abe's kayak, where he kayaked out into the field to get this picture of where the water was converging there toward the middle of the field. You can see there's a lot of water flowing there. There's a lot of corn completely underwater, and a lot of corn that's got water well up on it. The great thing was that within 2 days, by June the 8th, all of the water was gone off of this field. Ryan was making plans to do some foliar stress applications on some of the fields that had this. And then on the night of June the 10th, they got another 3.5 or 4 inches of rain, and it came right back up and did the same thing again. He did go ahead, not wanting to give up on the crop. He went ahead then a day or two later, as soon as the water was gone, and with a drone was able to fly on the stress program that we talked about, a couple of different options with that. You can see these are some continuing maps on June the 14th. So it would have been just a couple of days after that rain event. You can see how much of that field was affected significantly, where the red is pretty good size through the flow where the water was running through that field. But now we come back to July the 25th on the right, and a lot of that corn seems to have come back. And Ryan said that it looks surprisingly different. He's very surprised at how the corn is recovered and how it's coming along. And it's going to be interesting to see how this all transpires for him in this particular situation. But certainly, you know, keep up with any of these kinds of things if you've got similar situations. And we're going to talk really quickly about one other situation, something that's popped up. This is kind of a different approach, maybe for Genesis Ag products. We typically think of them as more row crop applications, but we kind of went out on a limb. Jeremy has an operation where he raises hogs in hoop buildings and uses deep packed straw for the bedding in those hoop buildings. He cleans those out between each turn of the hogs. And we decided a little bit after seeing some of the things that happened with our Exodus product, thinking about what that might be able to do to start breaking down some of that manure or breaking down some of the straw that's in there, but also including Vita and Terra and Carbos in the mix to help sequester some of those things and keep feeding the biology that might be in there. So Jeremy made 3 applications of this throughout the turn of those hogs that were in the building. And he called me last week and he said, hey, we hauled that out, you know, and the odor does seem to be reduced after they had pulled it out and piled it outside of the building. And probably the most important thing was actually the fact that his wife agreed. She thought that it was much less intrusive smell coming off of it this time from what they were used to. So just kind of some outside of the box thoughts with ways to use the Genesis Ag products. So, you know, just I guess the moral of the story here is, you know, don't confine everything to any particular box. There are a lot of opportunities to learn. So keep an open mind, keep looking for opportunities, things that might seem odd, but when you start tying the way products work and what they might be able to do, there's some interesting things that we can see. So that's kind of a wrap for tonight. There's not a whole lot else I had to share necessarily. There are some other exciting things that guys are talking about. I didn't necessarily have opportunities to get pictures or put them up. But again, please spend a little bit of time looking back at where you've got some trials. Get out in the field. If you want me to swing by and take a look at things with you, certainly don't be afraid to give me a shout. If you see something exciting, please take a picture. Pictures are golden and we love to see those. Or at the very least, give us a call and share some exciting things that you might be seeing. So with that, we're going to call it a wrap this evening. Again, it's an abbreviated version just to kind of plant some seeds for you, encourage you to take a little time, you know, here through the August time frame. Don't walk away from your crop. It's not finished. There might still be some things you want to do if you've got good conditions, but the pressure's off a little bit now, maybe as much as it's going to be. And getting a little rest and relaxation, recharge your batteries before we get into the harvest season. I hope all of you will find time to get away. Maybe it's a quick trip with the family. Maybe it's going to the fair. Maybe you've got kids that are showing livestock or got other projects at the fair. Take time to enjoy that and relax. Spend time with the family, spend time with a hobby or two, and come back strong and ready to go when we get closer to harvest. So with that, would encourage you to continue checking in. I keep updating my Read Your Crop Stories series. Take a look at that on a YouTube channel here as well. If you would, you can like, share, follow the YouTube channel. You can join me on the Facebook page at Big Picture Ag as well, but would really love to engage with you. Give me a call. Would like to get out between now and or through harvest and take a look at things with you so that we can really start making some judgments on where your crop has opportunities maybe to look for improvement. So with that, would like to thank you again. Wish you all of the best.